Hey, good evening, freedom-loving Illinoisans out there and hopefully beyond the borders of this great state. This is the day after the eclipse. Did you survive, Chris? Did you survive the eclipse?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a long time since there's been a traffic jam in Oakland, maybe back in the Cornbread and Bean Festival days when there was 10 or 15,000 people coming to town, but 133 was locked up tight.
Well, I think that's the word all the way around central and southern Illinois on the interstates and 2 lanes that the roads were pretty jammed going down and coming back yesterday afternoon. But got kind of dark. We stayed close to Shelbyville. There was still just a little sliver of the sun, but the mercury, or I shouldn't say the mercury vapor lights, we've changed them out for LED lights, but they have the nighttime sensors on them. They both came on, they're about 1:45. They both came on.
That was very politically correct of you to correct yourself there on the type of light that you had come on. That was nice.
Yeah.
Nice touch.
Well, the mercury vapor stuff, that's so last century. And now to be on the cutting edge of the green new energy deal, it has to be LED or even better. But I'm pretty sure they're still coal-fired. Electric powers them up every day, but at least a large percentage of it is coal or natural gas. Maybe some nuclear here, but mostly coal-fired.
Yeah.
But anyhow, well, hey guys, thanks for joining us live here tonight on our Tuesday night live stream. It's just Representative Leader Chairman Chris Miller and myself. We're going to give you kind of a real quick update of kind of what happened late last week and what to expect in the next week and a half as we go back to Springfield tomorrow. As always, leave us a chat. If it's something we can respond to, we will, and follow up later if need be. We'd love to hear what's on your mind, and just kind of let us know kind of what you're thinking and how things are working out for you with the eclipse. And the warm weather's coming. Everybody should have lots of rain. The grass should be greening up. I think, Chris, we've mowed 3 times here at home. And it looks like it's about every 7 days right now, whether we need to or not, just to keep up with it and keep it looking good. But anyhow, Chris, what else is going on besides hopefully the traffic jams have cleared in Hinesboro and the Oakland area now? Hopefully that's all. Everybody's back to work and everything's going well. What else is going on?
Well, I know that you mentioned mowing. I finally broke down and mowed for the first time, and it was needing to be done. Let me put it that way. We might have been able to bail a little bit of it if we could have dried out, but
Yeah,
we've just been working on the farm. We're in the middle of calving season, and so that's pretty intense to keep an eye on everybody and keep everybody in good shape. So, and plus keep everybody fed. The cows are out grazing cover crops right now and having their calves out on that, so that's nice. But then we still got cattle in the feedlot and bulls to feed and sell and all the above. So
yeah, exactly. Well, this is a great time to be on the farm. Calving season, the grass is greening up. Cows headed out from maybe, like you say, you got them on cover crops, but hopefully you'll turn out on permanent pasture here right away. And so, yeah, it's a good time to be on the farm. Hey, Chris, with that, we've got a slide set here. Let me just get this popped up here on the screen. And let's see, I think I'm going to shift us over here on this side. And so this is the Illinois Freedom Caucus Tuesday night roundtable discussion. It's just the 2 of us tonight. Guys, we hope this is your safer, smarter alternative to anything else on Tuesday night. We know, Chris, Sunday night television or some of that is kind of taking your life in your own hands some nights to watch some of that Sunday night stuff. So
yeah.
anyhow, with that, let's get right into it. And here's slide number 1, I guess. So what's going on in Springfield right now? So we head back tomorrow, but last week was deadline week to get bills out of committee. So this is a process, right? For those that aren't familiar, bills get filed in the House. They get read into the record on the first time. They get assigned to committee, and they're debated in committee. And if they pass out of committee, they come back to the House, read into the record for the second time. And that's where we've got almost 500 bills that are needing to be read into the record and voted on for the third time. Chris, that's a lot of bills. None of those bills, we've only actually voted on 2, I think, earlier. One of them was the Chicago School Board bill. but we haven't voted on any of these 500, nearly 500 on the House floor. What's your thoughts with committee action the last few weeks?
Well, I know that one thing that you can't outthink these guys. I mean, if you do the simple math with the number of days that we're supposed to be in the legislature before adjournment in late May, the number of bills we have, the number of bills that we've passed, the number of bills that we looked at, if you just do the simple math on that, it's almost a fiscal impossibility to get through everything that we need to get through. But on the other hand, if we don't get through all these, it's probably going to be a lot better for the citizens of Illinois because I know that we do call that the bad idea factory over there. And there, we're never disappointed with the volume of bad ideas that we look at on a daily basis. So it's, of course, Speaker Welsh canceled last Friday so everybody could have a long weekend. And we don't go back till tomorrow on Wednesday. And so
Right.
everybody should be well rested and ready to go to work.
Yeah, well, hopefully everybody's well rested and they didn't get all zapped out from the eclipse. But yeah, so we'll have exact numbers tomorrow morning when we get back. But we believe there's about 500 bills on second. Maybe 100 of those is Republican bills. And what's interesting, Chris, was a fair amount of these bills are still waiting on amendments. So what they would do is they say, hey, look, we want to move this bill out of committee. We're going to hold it on second. We're still working on an amendment, and they will bring that amendment back to the committee for adoption. So that kind of makes for double work, right? Because we've got to go back into committee, even though the deadline was Friday. Maybe the deadline wasn't really Friday if we're still bringing amendments back.
I got a feeling that the deadline wasn't really Friday. That was, again, pixie dust and Tinkerbell floating around the Capitol dome, sprinkling. Who knows what it was that they were sprinkling, but there's one thing that we know is that there's always amendments to what is supposed to happen and what actually does happen. But and I know that another thing that we've looked at, there's a real disparity between the number of Republican bills being called and the number of Dem bills being called. But I do think that back to your point there when you started is that I don't remember a time where almost every bill that has come into the committees that I'm in is say we got to go ahead and pass this out and we'll bring it back with an amendment. And my thoughts are, what have you been doing for the past 3 months that this could be fixed and ready to rock and roll? And so, I know that we're going to have to keep a close eye on them because they have a habit of not being transparent. And who would know whether they're going to actually bring it back or whether they're just going to try to ram it through.
Yeah, well, the good news is we do have a list of all these bills, and so we can follow that just to make sure and keep them honest about it, because it is important that they come back to committee rather than come right to the House floor. And we'll see some of these bills; they'll just try to pop them out on the House floor, and when nobody's really paying attention, and they'll put the amendment on then. But it's really important to make sure that we do follow up with their commitment to bring them back to committee. And in the other thing too, Chris, we're a third of the chamber, right? There's 40 members out of 118. So the Republicans are a third of the member, but it looks like we might get 20% of the bills to the floor. But who knows how many of those are going to get called. But I think the good news with the number of bills, and again, for 7 weeks, I think we've been in off and on for 7 weeks. Not a single one of these 500 were moved to third reading, which takes about a minute to do. The debate now on third reading, when they come to vote, of course, can be anywhere from a few minutes to an hour plus, depending on the severity of the bill. But I mean, we might be in for 20 minutes, maybe to an hour. Some days it's a long, the last 7 weeks to be in session for an hour. That was a long time, and with a lot of personal points of privilege, recognizing individuals or groups or basketball teams, high school. That was kind of been the order of the day. The committee work was where we spent a lot of time.
Yeah. No, that's true. We really haven't done very much work since we've been there, which is for those that have been there for a little while, know that there's going to be a day of reckoning where we're going to work through the weekends and we're going to work till 2 or 3, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. But you need to be paying attention, because that's when the really, really, really bad bills show up, is between midnight and 6 a.m. So,
Right. Right.
and on a holiday weekend too.
Right.
So
Right.
eh,
Right. Well,
just
let's pull up this next slide. And this talks about what's coming up this week in Springfield. Chris, you talked about it. We go in for 3 days this week, 5 days next week. So I just kind of envision, because we use this adage a lot. We've seen this movie before,
right.
that next Wednesday the days are going to get longer. Well, maybe all week the days will start getting longer. And then by Thursday night, Friday night, it could be, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. just to try to get these bills all out on House deadline, third reading bill, or a House deadline week next week, a week from this Friday, to get them out. And that's the problem, is we could have been utilizing some of this time up to this point to be moving some of these bills, because it's just kind of a formality to move them from second to third. But
One thing would be nice if the speaker would just grow a little bit of common sense and wisdom, because there's a whole bunch of these bills that just need to go in the toilet and never see the light of day anyway. So that would be be a good place to start with about half of them, because
right.
at least in the committees that I'm in, there really hadn't been a bill that's been introduced in my committees, whether it's energy, public health, public utilities, that really impacts in a favorable way the citizens of the state of Illinois, and makes life better, lowers taxes, does all the things that we the people would like to see done. That none of those bills do that, but typically they add more regulations, more costs, more expense, less business friendly, and
Yeah.
so et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no property tax relief, no income tax relief, more of the same and getting worse. So, yeah. Hey, here's the next slide. Kind of some recent news. Quaker Oats from Danville is leaving Illinois. Over 500 jobs, Chris. It's going to leave Vermilion County. This is yet again a long list of employers that are leaving. All the while, the governor is handing out money to countries that don't like us, and to the tune of $125 million to a facility, the battery plant in Kankakee County. And the last I knew, the Goshen didn't even have their building permits yet to start construction, and they've got a check from the governor for 125 million. You would think that we would try to make the business climate better by reducing regulation and other things that cause these employers to leave the state, rather than continuing to tax us more, give money away to countries that despise us. And it just seems like it's a vicious circle.
No, and I think that Quaker Oats leaving is just the half of it, because I know that there was a chocolate plant that was laying off, Rivian's laying off more people, and there was one other one that the name slips my mind right now, but there were
Right.
um, four that were either leaving or making major layoffs just because of the well, one thing is Bidenomics is the real rate of inflation is close to 40%.
Right.
And so, everything added together, and nobody's going to, just like the plant in Danville, the Quaker Oats plant, they aren't going to make improvements and bring everything up to speed so that JB Pritzker can continue to screw them with all the regulations and taxes and cost of doing business here in the state. That would be so refreshing if we could see those the bad ideas that go along with a functioning business here in Illinois. If we could make a business friendly climate rather than making it hostile to do business here, would be a breath of fresh air.
Right, exactly. Well, let's talk about a recent situation, Chris, here that happened. The Safety Act was passed just a little over 2 years ago in the wee hours of lame duck session back in January, and here we see that a driver who killed a DeKalb County deputy in a driving incident was released, I think, yesterday afternoon because of the Safety Act allowed this person to walk out of jail. Let me just read. So he was arrested last week for reckless homicide and DUI in connection with the line of duty death of DeKalb County Sheriff's Officer Deputy Christina Musell. I hope I said the last name right. Released there Monday afternoon after the court set pretrial release conditions. I think this is just insanity that you have a fatality involved and the person's released from jail.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable that they've made such a mockery of the judicial system and the due process of law. I mean, to put it in perspective, I mean, this guy killed a police officer. He had other convictions that should have been red flags, but yet he does this and then he walks out of jail. I mean, it's no wonder that we really don't see crime going down but escalating, because if there's no consequences, behavior doesn't change.
Right, exactly. Real quickly, the next thing here, President Biden came to Chicago for a big fundraiser. He'd been in Wisconsin, of course, in preparation for the big DNC, the national convention, Democrat National Convention, August 19th for 3 or 4 days there at the McCormick Place, McCormick Center. That's interesting. I wonder if they talked about the migrant situation very much, Chris.
Well, you would have to think that that would have been a topic of conversation, because they got a real problem. We know what Gavin Newsom, when he had some international celebrities come to California, that all of a sudden everything got cleaned up and tidied up, and every shirt got put in the drawer. And so I'm guessing, I'm not exactly sure what miracle that they will produce and how they will do it, but I'm sure it'll be the same way in Chicago.
Yeah. Well, they haven't shut the faucet off yet. So the migrants continue to be bused to Chicago. The last number I knew that it was over 35,000 of these recent new arrivals, right? New arrivals. It's just stunning to me how they can put a spin on something like illegal aliens and call them new arrivals, but that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
So, guys, let's bring up our last slide. This is how you can reach out and find us, IllinoisFreedomCaucus.org. And, of course, if you would like to contribute to our cause, we'd love to have you do that. There's a donate button on that page. And then new, just a couple of weeks ago, is we've started utilizing Substack as our email and our notification. That has a lot of added benefits. If you're into that kind of thing, there's where you can find us, IllinoisFreedomCaucus.substack.com/. So anyhow, Chris, I hope this was helpful. Thanks for taking time this evening. Chris, any closing comments or thoughts or concerns as we close out this stream and get ready to go back to Springfield tomorrow?
No, I think that, a lot of people that I talk to, they're very apathetic and about what's going on in Springfield, and they've kind of checked out of the political process. And one thing that we have seen, when people engage in the process, just like we saw in House Bill 1634, the banning of the diesel trucks and all that, when people paid attention, when people engaged, bad bill got stopped. And it's the same way with a lot of these things that are coming down the pike, is coming at us in rapid fire now, that if you stay engaged, you fill out witness slips, you write the sponsor, you call their office and make them go through gridlock on all these things, and we can either slow down or stop a lot of these bad ideas that are coming to us. And so please, please, please stay engaged. Please pray for us. Please, do all the things that you can do, because the fight for freedom never ends.
That's exactly right. And Chris, we forgot to mention kind of in our opening comments, this is the home for truth, logic, and common sense, and you're going to get it unvarnished right here. And, the other thing too, the witness slip's really important, but I think a couple of things. I always want to invite people to come to Springfield and
Yeah.
spend, as much time as they can, whether that's a few hours or the entire day. I know, our districts are relatively close to Springfield. In fact, the northwest corner of my district is less than 30 minutes away from Springfield. So it doesn't take a lot of effort to get there other than just the time away from whatever you do all day long. But you'll go away a changed person after coming to Springfield and spending a few hours watching the floor action, watching the committee action, whatever it may be, and kind of just walking around talking to other legislators and, whatever. But I always invite people to come up, and I'm sure you do the same, Chris.
Yeah.
The other thing is for the youngsters, anybody from 6th grade up through college age and maybe a little beyond, is come and be a page for the day for us. And that takes a little coordination, and just call our Springfield office, and our person there in Springfield will connect you up with a schedule. But that's always a good time for the individual to come up and kind of get on the floor, because the floor access is limited to us and our immediate families and staff. And so it's a rare opportunity to be able to get access to the floor. So if you're a young person interested in that kind of thing, feel free to reach out to us for Page for the Day.
Yep.
And always, guys, we like that you would like and share and follow and subscribe to our content, as we hope to overcome the algorithmic gods of the big tech overlords. So anyhow, with that, we're going to wrap this up, close it out, and call us if we can help you. Email us, rep.halbrook.com. I assume it's repchrismiller.com.
That'll get you there. That'll get you close enough you can figure it out.
Yeah, just internet search our names, and you'll find our websites and be able to access us there. So with that, Chris, good night, and we'll see you in Springfield.
Good night.